Hello, everyone, and another official welcome to for joining us here for our UBC Engineering After Applying presentation. My name is Franco Fung. I use he/him pronouns, and I work here as the Student Recruitment Officer for UBC Engineering, specifically at the Vancouver campus. I would like to acknowledge that the land that UBC Vancouver has been built on, the land which we work, learn, connect, and innovate, is on the unceded ancestral and traditional territories of the Musqueam peoples. Now, UBC Engineering also is stretched across two campuses. So at UBC, of course, we have our Okanagan campus as well. Our Okanagan campus is situated in the territory of the Silex Okanagan Nation and their peoples. And of course, we will also like to acknowledge that you are joining us from many places around the world, near and far, and acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. So it's great to see so many potential future UBC engineers joining us here today. There's 280 of us here right now in this webinar. So before we get into some intros, I would like to know you a little bit more. So if you can take some time to answer this poll for me, I'm just going to get this launched right now and let us know. Who are you? Are you a high school applicant? Are you a transfer applicant? Where are you joining us from today? Are you here in BC or elsewhere around the world? And lastly, what do you want to learn a little bit more from us today? What do you want to get out of this session? So I'm going to leave that poll open for a little bit more, and then we're going to get into just some quick introductions. So we have representation from both of our campuses here today. So I've already introduced myself. I'm going to throw it over to Leanne to say a quick hello.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to UBC Engineering. It's really nice to meet you and to have you here. My name is Leanne. I work at the UBC Vancouver campus. My role is to work with a team of academic advisors on this campus. So both UBC Vancouver and UBC Okanagan have really robust student services, and our area of focus is supporting students primarily in year one as they make a transition into university. So we help students select their courses, help them with things like study skills and time management. And so I'm really happy to be here to answer your questions and to learn more about your interests in engineering. Really nice to meet you all.
Awesome, amazing. Thank you, Leanne. Chanel, who's a fourth-year student, will be joining us shortly. Now over to our Okanagan campus, we have Eddie. Eddie, do you want to come on and say a quick hello as well?
Hello. Oops. Hello, my name is. Oh, we've working video.
Oh, we seem to have lost your video. It was working before. We did test this.
Yes. Okay, we're back.
There you are.
Hello,
Hey,
my
Eddie.
name is Eddie Samuel. I'm a third-year electrical engineering student at University British Columbia, Okanagan. I'm originally from Calgary, Alberta. So anyone from Calgary? Hello. Yeah.
Awesome. Quick shout out to our friends over in Alberta. We also have Samantha Mahek, who will be helping answer questions on the back end. So speaking about questions, let's move over to some Zoom housekeeping tips. So a few notes that I want to go over before we dive into today's session. A reminder that there are a few functions that are available to you to help customize your experience here with us today. Hopefully our audio and video is sounding okay, but if you are experiencing any of those issues, a reminder that you can adjust these settings through the settings below. Maybe it's just adjusting maybe the speaker potentially or your volume. If you are still experiencing issues after that, please let us know. We can try and help you troubleshoot. As I mentioned earlier, this session, of course, is designed for you. So please feel free to submit any of your questions through the Q&A box below. I ask you to please submit your question once. Again, there are a lot of you here in this webinar. By submitting your question once, it's not just going to extend the queue. That'll give us an opportunity to get to your question. However, we have also enabled the upvote function. So if you do see some questions that you also want to see get answered, please make sure to give it a quick thumbs up so it can move up to the top of the list. Now, if you require closed captioning is enabled as well. You can enable this by clicking on the closed captioning button at the bottom of the screen. And finally, if you're not able to stay with us for the entire session, that's perfectly okay. A recording of this session will be shared on our YouTube channel in just a few days. You can find our YouTube channel at UBC Engineering. All right, so let's go back to the poll. It's been up for about 3 minutes. Let's take a quick look. Okay, so I see a lot of you are high school applicants. We have a couple college and university transfer applicants as well. Many of you joining from Metro Vancouver, from Kelowna, elsewhere in BC. Oh, we got a pretty good split, I would say, spread across the world, across Canada as well. So welcome, thanks for joining us. And also a bit of a split. Some people have no idea what's going on. That's perfectly okay. We're hoping we can point you in the right direction through this webinar. A lot of people just have questions about engineering programs, admission processes. Hopefully by the end of the session, we'll be able to help get some of those questions answered for you. Thanks for joining and sharing, everyone. All right, so on our agenda today, we're going to talk about, now that you've applied, what's next. So I'm going to answer some of those big frequently asked questions. I'm going to also spend some time to talk about why you should choose and study engineering here at UBC. And then finally, we'll wrap up with some next steps and how you can stay connected and learn more about UBC Engineering. So let's get right into it. I've applied, what's next? So let's get the big question out of the way. When will I hear back? That's a question that, of course, I'm sure is top of mind for most of you. So the answer is UBC will continue to send out decisions on a rolling basis. The majority of our decisions are sent out between December to April. Any updates to your application will be communicated to you through your applicant service center. So we call it ASC for short. If you haven't been on it, please take some time to visit that, because that is where we're going to update you on the latest about your application. And you can also find out the latest about your application status by going under admissions, and there is an option to check your application status. Now, some of you may have applied before December 1st. So you applied before December 1st, first to be considered for first round offers. You can hear back anytime from now until the end of February. Now, if you don't hear back by the end of February, don't worry, you're going to be automatically evaluated again when we receive updated grades later in the spring. Another question that I'm getting from applicants, and I'm seeing in our inbox as well, is how do I submit some supporting documents? Now, if UBC requires additional information from you, such as transcripts, they will let you know through your ASC account. Again, checking that is going to be very key. Depending on what type of document it is, will determine how we need that submitted. So for example, if it's an unofficial transcript, you might be asked to upload it directly to your ASC account. If we're asking for an official transcript, you may need to make arrangements with your previous institution to send those official copies over to us. So again, check your ASC account for more information about how to submit those documents. Now, a couple other tips that I always like to tell applicants is, again, I've already talked about this, check your email regularly for updates on your application. Can't stress this enough. Everything that we tell you will be, of course, communicated through email and through the ASC. You can also, of course, when you do get a communication, making sure you're reading through those communications carefully and thoroughly so you understand what that communication is about. And then if you do have questions, you can reach out to UBC admissions directly. So we will include some of those links there in the chat, so you can click there and be able to visit those websites. So those are just some of the frequent asked questions I'll get to. There will be a live Q&A session later on, and we're going to get to some more questions that you may have. Now, I'm going to spend some time to chat a little bit more about engineering at both UBC Vancouver and Okanagan campuses. Now, if you choose to join us at UBC, just know you're going to be joining a university which is globally recognized for its excellence in teaching and research, as well as its global impact. Many world university rankings, such as the Times Higher Education, ranks UBC as #2 in Canada. QS World University Rankings, another well-known ranking for universities around the world, ranks UBC among the top 40 globally. And if you do choose to join us at UBC, you're going to be joining and you graduate from UBC, you're going to join an alumni network of 400,000 alumni spread across 160 different countries around the world. Now, when we look at UBC Engineering specifically, when we're looking at rankings, Maclean's has ranked UBC Engineering as the #2 engineering program in Canada, based on program and research reputation. When QS World University Rankings ranks our engineering program as among the top 25 in the world. And we're also home to the largest co-op program here in Western Canada, where you're going to have an opportunity to get connected with some fantastic employers through our employer partnerships to help set you up for success. We'll talk a little bit more about co-op later on. But overall, to sum up this slide, if you join us at UBC, you're going to be joining one of the top ranked universities in the world. Now, UBC, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. Our engineering program is offered through 2 different amazing campus options for you. So you can choose to study at our Okanagan campus in Kelowna or the Vancouver campus right here in BC. The campuses are about a 4.5-hour drive apart, or if you choose to fly, they're about an hour apart from each other. While the Fieldview campus could be a little bit different, both campuses' engineering programs are equally prestigious and accredited, where you're going to be learning and working with professors who are leaders in their fields. So it doesn't matter which campus you start at. You'll start in the foundational first year, where you're going to start building the foundation of your degree before continuing into your program and completing your degree at that campus. Now, you might be thinking, how do I choose a campus that is right for me? Ultimately, I think that is a personal decision. Since we're in the, all of you have already applied, I would also suggest if you can check out the campuses, go visit them, go on a campus tour, do a quick vibe check, right? Making sure that's a place that you feel comfortable in. So that's my recommendation. Go check out the campuses and see which one is right for you. As I mentioned earlier, it doesn't matter which campus that you're going to start at. You're going to start in the foundational first year. And you're going to take courses that are the foundation of your degree. So courses you'll take things like engineering design, you're going to take chemistry, physics, math, and English before continuing in your program and completing your degree. So right away, you're going to be in first year, you're going to be introduced to the design cycle right away. You're going to start learning how to think like an engineer. So throughout your first year, you're going to have an opportunity to learn more about each of the engineering programs offered at our campus by attending different info events, different fairs, chatting with senior engineering students or professors. And this will give you a solid understanding of the options available to you and a much better sense of which program is best aligned with your interests. Now, at both campuses, students will select their program study at the end of their first year through our engineering program placement process. Now, at the Okanagan campus, there are 4 engineering undergraduate programs available for incoming students. They are all listed there on the screen. So you'll see civil engineering, computer, electrical, and mechanical engineering. Now, as mentioned, students will choose their program at the end of their foundational first year. Now, at the UBC Okanagan campus, incoming engineering students are guaranteed placement in any of the 4 engineering programs listed on this slide. So what that means is, for example, if you're interested in civil engineering, you are guaranteed a seat in civil engineering. Now, at the Vancouver campus, this process differs a little bit. So at the Vancouver campus, we offer 14 engineering disciplines for students to choose from. So they're all listed there on the screen. At the Vancouver campus, there is a program placement process at the end of first year, and this is a competitive process. So students will indicate and rank their preferred programs and submit a personal statement. So our faculty and staff will then evaluate all the applications and place students in their programs. All students will be notified of their program placement by late June. So then that's when, typically that's when course registration happens. So you'll be ready to select your courses for second year. Now, for some students, if you're identified as a top applicant, you may be offered guaranteed placement in your top program choice at the Vancouver campus. Now, if you are a part of this group, you're going to be notified by email from our faculty. So this will come separately from your offer letter if you receive one, similar to how you can be notified about awards and scholarships. Please note, if you are offered guaranteed placement, you still need to work hard in school. Still do well in your courses in first year, because you still are required to meet all the eligibility requirements in your first year to keep that guaranteed placement. You will receive more information about this in the letter, in the communication that you receive. Now, if you don't get offered guaranteed placement, don't worry. As I mentioned earlier, you're going to have an opportunity to select your program when the program placement process opens for all eligible students. Now, overall, again, students at both campuses, you're going to get a lot more information about the program placement process throughout your first year. And you can learn about all of our program options available through the link below, which will be linked in the chat very shortly. I think one of the greatest things and best things about pursuing a university degree is the ability to be able to customize it to your interests, right? As I mentioned from the very start, you're going to be exposed to hands-on design projects where you're going to work in teams with other first-year students. You'll continue working in these teams throughout your 4-year or 5-year degree, and you'll continue to have courses year after year that build on these project-based learning experiences, which will culminate in a final capstone design project where you and your peers will work with industry partners to solve real life problems. And some of these capstone projects have actually become startups or have allowed students to secure jobs upon graduation. So some capstone examples, for example, we've seen mechanical engineering students create a chocolate 3D printer, create a chocolate fountain using a 3D printer. We've seen civil engineering students design a machine shop for BC ferries. We've seen environmental engineering students design a year-round treatment plant to treat groundwater contaminated by mines up in Yellowknife. So a lot of great opportunities through the coursework that we offer in the programs. Another way that you can also, of course, get involved is through things like research. So you can get involved in research through paid research experiences. We have clubs like the Undergrad Research Organization, which will help pair students with areas of research they are interested in. You can also choose to pursue a minor. So a common question we get is what's a major and what's a minor? A major is going to be an area of study that you focus the majority of your courses in. And a minor, it will be a few courses that are dedicated to another area of study. So typically a much lower amount of courses, but that's a quick way of explaining what a major and a minor is. It's not a requirement to take a minor, but it will allow you to have a secondary focus. So for example, some minors at the Vancouver campus include things like you can study commerce, entrepreneurship, science, math, or arts. At the Okanagan campus, minors will include management, computer science, and arts, for example. Another way that you can also find your passions by joining a design team. I'll talk a little bit more about design teams later, but we have over 30 some different design teams. So there's a design team for everything. It's another great way to be able to work on a student project that way too. And finally, let's talk a little bit about co-op. Now, one thing that I have to stress as well is that I know that most of you are coming from high school. High school co-op is a little bit different than university co-op. At university, co-op programs will allow you to work full-time and get paid for it. So here at UBC, we are home to the largest co-op program here in Western Canada. Co-op is a fantastic opportunity to get paid work experience and allows you to try out different types of engineering roles. It's a great way to find out what you like to do and what you may not like so much. The Applied Science Co-op program is one program across both campuses, which means that it doesn't matter which campus you decide to attend to, you will have the same great support from our co-op staff and have access to the same co-op job database. A popular question that we get is, what is the process to join co-op? To simplify the answer, to qualify, you need to be ready for second year, and you have to meet the minimum academic requirements, which is listed there on the screen. So just a couple stats to share with you. In 2023, we've actually had students work internationally. 102 students worked internationally across 16 countries. We've secured over 3,000 work terms for students as well. So again, there are a lot of great work opportunities for our engineering students. Some notable employers include like Tech Resources, Suncor Energy, and Stem Cell Technologies, just to name a few. And of course, average earnings is important, I think, for some students to know about. Average earnings for our co-op students across 4 work terms was just over $65,000 in 2023. Here on the screen, a few more other things, just some sample jobs for you to take a look at that were available on our job board last semester. So maybe if you like video games, maybe there's an opportunity for you to work at Electronic Arts, for example. Reddit is listed on there. BGC Engineering. So this can just give you a bit of a taste of what opportunities are available for our students. Now, if you're interested to learn more about our co-op program, I do invite you to join us for our next session. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, which will be happening on February 12th. So our paid experiences with impact session, and that will talk about how you can focus. It will primarily focus on co-op, but I'll talk about how you can start applying your learning and get paid while you're doing that. So that's a bit of a glimpse of what the academic experience can look like. But university, of course, is more than just your coursework. It's an amazing way to be able to make new friends, explore new interests as well. And there's many ways for you to find your community here at UBC and at UBC Engineering. I mentioned there are over 35 some odd design teams across both campuses. So again, that's a great way to apply your learning to a student project. So things like we have a concrete toboggan team, we have a rocketry club. So there are many ways, again, to get involved in that. There's also our engineering student societies. So at the Vancouver campus, we have the EUS, which is Engineering Undergraduate Society. And at the Okanagan campus, we have the Engineering Society, or ENGSOC for short. And they're there to help create community for engineering students. So they host a lot of great events, study hall events, so you can get connected and meet other engineering students. So many ways for you to get involved. I think that's another thing that I always get from students is how can I make new friends at university? That's a common question that I get. Maybe it's by joining some of these design teams or clubs. That's a great way for you to be able to make new friends that way. All right, so that is a quick snapshot of what the UBC engineering experience could look like. So now that you know a little bit more about our campus and offerings, let's talk about what you have to do next. So notable upcoming dates. Again, I can't stress this enough. Please make sure you're checking your applicant service center for the latest on your application. This is where, again, we'll let you know first. So be sure that you are checking this consistently. If you are required to submit documents, again, read through the communications and be familiar with what we need when we need those documents by. So for example, if you check our dates and deadlines website, you'll notice that on January 31st, if you're transferring from another post-secondary, if you are another post-secondary applicant, so you're coming from another college or university, and you apply by December 1st, you might have been asked to submit your official interim transcripts by January 31st, right? So if you are in that category, haven't had a chance to take a look at that really soon, because that deadline is coming up very soon as well. Another date that I'll mention is February 15th. If you are required to submit an English language test as part of your application, please look to have those submitted by February 15th. If you have any issues with that, please reach out to our admissions team through the links that were shared earlier. So please get in contact with them. And as always, decisions will continue to be released on a rolling basis from now until June, depending on if you're a high school applicant or a post-secondary transfer applicant. Again, make sure you check your ASC, your applicant service center, for the latest on your application. Now, for some of you, you might have already heard back. And if you did receive an offer, congratulations. If you haven't heard back yet, no worries. Again, it's still early in the applicant cycle. There's many opportunities. There's still a long runway, many opportunities for you to still hear back. But if you've already been admitted, congratulations. Each year, UBC receives thousands and thousands of applications from students from all over the world. Being accepted is a recognition and acknowledgement of all the hard work that you put in so far, and we'd love for you to join our community. Now, if you decide to join us, there are 3 steps you need to do to accept your offer. So, of course, number 1, back to the Applicant Service Center, log in, click on admissions, and then select either accept my offer or decline. If you aren't intending to accept your offer, declining your offer will also perhaps provide another opportunity for another student to receive their offer as well. So let us know. Number 3, selecting yes, I accept this offer, and follow the steps to pay your tuition deposit. Now, the tuition deposit will differ. If you are a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, that tuition deposit fee is $500. If you are a student coming on a study permit, that tuition deposit fee will be $3,000. Now, if you're somebody who requires a student visa, then you may be already need to look at applying for a study permit. Now, the steps there are listed on the screen. Now, each campus has its own process. So visit the links that are in the chat right now for more info on those processes. But overall, before you go into those processes, make sure you verify that your personal information is accurate on the ASC. So checking your name, matches to your passport, your address, your date of birth, making sure those are all accurate. Accepting your offer and paying your tuition deposits. UBC will then send you a provincial attestation letter in about 3 business days. After that, download your offer, your letter of admission and attestation letter to be ready to be submitted as part of your study permit application. So again, more information can be found in the links below. Now, after you've accepted your offer and applying a study permit, if you need to, the next thing I invite you to do is to start planning for your finances. Now, university is an investment in yourself, and it's important to make sure that you're ready for what's to come. So let's talk about some tools now that can help you in this process. Now, the best way to determine how much your first year will cost is to use our online cost calculator. So this will allow you to indicate all that applies to you to help you determine what your fees could look like. Now, you can expect each year will cost kind of roughly the same in the amount of tuition, although it may increase a couple percent each and every single year. Tuition in your upper years could be very similar as well, and is based off of the number of courses that you are taking. So depending on how many courses you will take, that will vary. Other things to consider for other costs will include things like housing, meal plans, where you're going to eat, where you're going to live, activities that you might want to get involved in, what laptop you're going to use. Those are all things that you should also consider. With that being said, UBC, of course, does offer a lot of great financial supports available for students. You can use some of the links that, again, we've added to the chat to learn more about some of the ways that you can fund your degree at each campus. Another way to fund your education, of course, is through scholarships. So, of course, UBC has a lot of great scholarship opportunities for students to look at. Some of these scholarships are available on the screen. Some of them are merit-based, some of them are needs-based. We'll also link a few more links in the chat for you to be able to start exploring some of those scholarship options. In addition to the scholarships available through UBC and through UBC Engineering, I also encourage you to start looking at external scholarships. Great keywords to search for are things like engineering, STEM, women in engineering, women in STEM. Those are some great keywords for you to start narrowing down your search when it comes to scholarships. Now, on campus, many of our students also support their tuition by working as work-learn students. So work-learn is a term here at UBC Vancouver anyway, where students can work throughout their degree, allows them to get paid part-time work experience in a professional setting or in a research lab. And of course, co-op is another great way for students to also gain some engineering work experience while getting paid. So here are a couple more links to kind of help you in your financial planning. So again, there's the link to the first year cost calculator, scholarships and awards, loans, bursaries for both campuses. And if you do have questions about financial planning, you can reach out to UBC through the methods listed on that website. So we've talked about numbers and I briefly mentioned about housing. So let's briefly chat about some of the housing options available for incoming first-year students. So UBC does offer a first-year residence guarantee at both campuses, so long as you apply by May 1st as an incoming first-year student from high school and that you meet the base criteria requirements. Most students, of course, will apply for the winter session residence and this winter session will run from September through April. Now, you can apply to residence right after you complete your application to UBC, or you can follow the instructions on the housing websites. If you are a transfer student, there are a limited number of spaces that are set aside each year for newly admitted transfer students as well. To receive priority access and increase your chance of receiving an offer or placement in residence, it is recommended that you apply for winter session residence as early as possible and no later than that May 1st deadline. Again, check out the housing links depending on which campus you're planning to go to. That will give you more information about the different housing options available at both campuses. Okay, hope that was all helpful and hope that gives you a better idea of what to expect over the next few weeks or next few months. To wrap up here for the official presentation portion, just want to talk a few ways that you can stay connected with us. So keep an eye out for our UBC Engineering emails. That's a great way to learn about any upcoming events. You can also chat with a current student. So we'll throw a link in the chat as well for you to ask questions to our current engineering students through our ambassador program. And of course, you can also follow us at Engineering Stories. So that is where we have our team there to be able to talk about what it's like to be an engineering student. So here are some upcoming events. So on the top of the list, on February 4th, we have the PBME information session. So some of you might be wondering, what is that? If you're interested in pursuing biomedical engineering, if you want to further your knowledge in biology, engineering, and apply that to new products and processes to transform healthcare, maybe biomedical engineering could be a good fit for you. Now, I know I had talked about how students usually share a common first year, but at the Vancouver campus, there is an option for students to take a slightly modified first year called pre-biomedical engineering timetable. Now, this will give those students access to courses which are prerequisites for second year biomedical engineering. Now, if you are interested in that, I highly recommend you check out the program webpage, which is now in the chat, and attend their session on February 4th. There is an application process as there are a number of spaces. Again, find out more through the links below and chat with the program reps on February 4th. Again, I'll plug again the next one. If you're interested in learning more about co-op and some paid work opportunities and how we set students up for success, I do invite you to join us again on February 12th, where we'll introduce our co-op team and demystify this whole process for you. For info about all of our upcoming events, visit our events page, again, linked in the chat, and sign up for anything that you're interested in. Okay, that's enough of me talking. Now I'm going to introduce two of our students. We have Eddie and Chanel here with us. Eddie, do you want to come on camera and say hi first?
Hi, hello. As I said previously, my name is Eddie Samuel. I'm a third-year electrical engineering student at the University of British Columbia, Okanagan campus. I'm originally from Alberta. I love being an engineering student at UBC. I'll be honest, it is challenging and requires a lot of effort and commitment to be successful. However, I want to focus less on academics, more on my student experience, because universities is about finding a balance between school and life outside. One of the things I appreciate about the UBCO, the University of British Columbia Okanagan campus, is the sense of community. Since it's a relatively small campus, classes are smaller, which means the professors are more approachable. There are which are more approachable. There are also plenty of opportunities to get involved. I love volunteering in university events, especially engineering related ones like this one. That's how I got the opportunity for being one of the student ambassadors, because I met so many people. And when this opportunity was available, they talked to me because I was so passionate about this role and about improving future events for other students. They offered me this role. No matter what university you choose, I highly recommend finding things outside of school. If all you do is study, you will burn out. Like first year, first semester was hard for me. Because like the challenge between high school and university is hard. Like the change, especially if you're coming a different province, get from your people. And it was hard for me in the first semester. But the second semester, I was able to. That's why it's always find something else outside of school. For me, for example, I like spending time outdoors. It's a great way to reset. Kelowna is a beautiful, especially in September. I like to go on hikes. Sometimes when assignments because engineering, you're gonna struggle. Assignments are hard. Sometimes all you need to do is like go on a walk, have a fresh air, touch grass. That's all you need to do. Maybe you're gonna refresh it, and you can do the assignment much better. Maybe it was harder just at that time, but when you come back, oh, I found a better way to find this. Another thing that makes me feel connected, it makes me feel UBCO like a community, is they have intramurals, which are UBCO hosts various sports competition where you can sign up as a team with your friends. And I love sports, so I always find myself joining these events. Not only because it keeps me active, it also helps me mentally by providing a fun break from academics. And hopefully I get to see you guys around campus next year.
Awesome, Andy. Thank you so much for the great advice. Definitely, sometimes taking a step back really helps, right? Just give yourself a bit of a break and then return to it, and you might be able to find a new solution. Thanks, Eddie, for coming on. Next, I'm going to introduce to you Chanel. Chanel is a fourth year in our biomedical engineering program here at the Vancouver campus. Chanel, hey, how's it going? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Sorry, I was a bit late. I had a lecture before this, but yeah, I'm excited to share a little bit about my journey so far. both academically and also professionally. And just, yeah, some of the really great experiences I've had here at the Vancouver campus. So throughout my studies in these past 4 years, I've had like one of the most like standout things about biomedical engineering that I've really liked is that I've had the opportunity to work on a lot of different design projects, which have been, really invaluable, which have allowed me to take the technical skills that we've learned in our classes and actually apply them in real world scenarios. And it's really important that, that's really emphasize a lot in our curriculum is because it's one thing to understand the design principles in theory, but putting them into practice has really solidified my learning. And I think that's a really important thing that we do here at UBC. Beyond coursework, I've also had the chance to complete a co-op terms, and I've also volunteered a lot at emotion analysis lab that we have here on campus, both of which are really amazing experiences. So like working in the lab allowed me to apply a lot of the principles I learned in like my biomechanics classes. It also introduced me to new softwares and tools, which was really cool because it expanded my technical skill set. My co-op term, which was actually with Lower Mainland Biomedical Engineering, that was specifically in clinical engineering, was also really eye-opening because that introduced a field within biomedical engineering, which you can kind of specialize in. So it was really cool to get that experience to see what it was like to work with actual biomedical engineers. And I gained a lot of firsthand experiences in like decision-making processes and learning about the technical and regulatory requirements that come into play during like different stages of what we were focusing on the job, which was a lot of like hospital equipment procurement. And so, yeah, like, again, I just wanted to reiterate how it was really incredible learning directly from like engineers. And it gave me a lot more of a deeper understanding of how engineering solutions are implemented in real world healthcare settings. So yeah, like if you guys are interested in biomedical engineering, I think there's lots of really great like job opportunities and lots of opportunities for you guys to learn. Of course, university life isn't just about academics and work experience. It's a big part, but it's not everything. One thing I really love about the Vancouver campus is that it's really beautiful. Like we're nearby a beach. I think like recently we've been able to see so many really pretty sunsets. It's just been like there was a day, I think last week, where literally everybody was just like stopping where they were walking, just taking pictures of the sunset. It was really pretty. Beyond that, there's also like lots of different opportunities to like get involved and join clubs and meet new people. I've been really lucky. I met like my really close core group of friends here and in my major. So it's been great to kind of like step outside also of my major, because there's a lot of different interdisciplinary aspects of biomedical engineering as well, because I've been able to take classes from that aren't necessarily just biomedical engineering. So that's, allowed me to like broaden my perspective, and it's, enriched my education even more. There's a lot of really interesting elective courses that you can take. So like I've really enjoyed exploring different subjects beyond what's my core curriculum. Another highlight of my experience has definitely also been the professors. I know that's like a really big thing that sometimes first years really worry about, but I can say with confidence the first year professors and even beyond, they are wonderful. They're not only knowledgeable, but they're also incredibly supportive and engaging. And their guidance has like played a really huge role in shaping my learning journey. If you guys can take it from anyone, take it from me. I had my first year in COVID, so that was really rough. But if like they were really engaging even in COVID, so like in person is like a whole other ball game. And yeah, so overall, I think my time here has really been filled with a lot of growth, learning, and like just truly memorable experiences. And I'm really grateful for the opportunities that I've had here. And I, look forward to continuing because I'm in my fourth year, but I'm not done. And so yeah, like similar, just echoing off Betty, I hope to see some of you guys on the campus next year.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Chanel. Yeah, I remember that sunset. It was just last week, right? Like it was really, really beautiful. I have seen my fair share of campuses across Canada, and honestly, I do think UBC has one of the nicest campuses. Not being biased, but it truly is. All right. So thank you both Eddie and Chanel for coming on and sharing a little bit more about your experience with our guests. Now, I guess this is the portion everyone's been waiting for, the live Q&A session. So I'm going to stop sharing over here. I'm going to open up the Q&A tab. And let's see if we can get to some of your questions. Oh, I think Leanne got to one of those. Awesome, thank you. Ooh, dorm for housing. So you can get a dorm with a friend. That's something I would direct to the housing team, but that should be something that you also have within your application. But I would forward that question over the housing team so they can help you out with that. Oh, Samantha, would you like to answer that question? No? Anything to add? All right. Health insurance. So students have health insurance usually through the student union. Chanel and Eddie, can you speak to that a little bit potentially?
Yeah, I can speak on it. Yes.
Awesome.
I have experience using the health insurance because in my first year I had an accident, a bike accident. So I need to go to the dentist and I didn't know how to go through it. However, when we paid our tuition at the start of the year, I was included in health insurance. So you have the dental insurance, health insurance, so you can use that as a student.
Awesome. Thanks, Eddie. All right, moving on to our next question. Wondering if we can share, hold on, let's scroll back up. I wonder if you can let us know how many applicants are given guaranteed placement for second year at the Vancouver campus. I don't have that number on hand right now, but it's just a select number. Just know that if you are a part of that group, you will be notified through your communications. So please, again, stay up to date on your communications and we'll let you know about that. Even if you don't hear back, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation. So even if you don't hear back for guaranteed placement, you still have that other opportunity where most people will declare will start going through the program placement process at the end of first year. So even those who have been given guaranteed placement, you still need to meet the academic requirements needed to keep that guaranteed placement as well, right? So if you don't hear back, don't worry. There's still another huge opportunity at the end of first year for you to get that placement in your desired program as well. Leanne, do you have anything else to add to that?
That covers it, Franco. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Next one, just want to know how the second year engineering pathway decision was all about. Unfortunately, I missed that part of the presentation. So yes, so at UBC Engineering, it doesn't matter if you start at Okanagan or the Vancouver campus, everyone starts off in the foundational first year program. And then at the end of first year, you're going to go through the engineering program placement process. Now, this will differ a little bit between depending on which campus you're at. At the Okanagan campus, there is guaranteed placement, meaning if you want to go into computer engineering, you are guaranteed a spot in computer engineering at the Okanagan campus. Now, at the Vancouver campus, the program placement process is competitive. So students will need to submit a personal statement, and we'll also be looking, like the program staff will also be looking at your academics to determine placement into which engineering program discipline you want to get into. So process is a little bit different. Just know that at the Okanagan campus it is guaranteed placement. At Vancouver, it is a competitive process. All right. Aerospace engineering. Okay, so aerospace engineering is an option that is available through the mechanical engineering program here at UBC Vancouver. Just double check that over here. I can share a link for you about that. Well, I'm looking for that link. I'm looking at the next question. I think Mahak is getting to it. But how many courses can I expect to take in my first year foundational year of engineering? And also what type of courses can I expect to take? I know Heck's working on that one, but Chanel or Eddie, are you able to talk a little bit, if you can look back to your first year, what some of those courses look like as well?
I can talk about it a little bit. Yes.
Awesome. Go ahead.
My first years, as in I'm in the 4-year program, I took 6 classes. They were like first semester 6 classes, second semester 6 classes. They were mostly like math, so like Calc 1, which was kind of review because I took Calc 1 in high school as I was an AP student. There was a little bit of physics. At the beginning, it's just a little bit of review, like the first 2 weeks, it's a review of the last thing you've seen in high school, but then they build on it. Keeps getting harder, the concepts getting harder and harder. So those what you should expect. And also there's projects which we haven't really seen in like in high school. You actually have to build sometimes build stuff. Like for my example, for my CAD project, I had to make actual physical stuff. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, just to add on to that from like the Vancouver side, I did 7 and 6 for my first year. My first year was a bit different. It was online, but it was, yeah, pretty similar to what Eddie was saying, though. It's like a lot of it is kind of foundational things that like you're kind of reviewing again, especially in first term from high school. So yeah, you have like differential calculus, you know, thermodynamics for like physics classes. And then a lot of students also will take like an English class or like another elective class because you are required as an engineering student also to have like those breadth requirements. That's not like necessary, I think, if I'm not wrong. I think it might be. Don't quote me on that, but like a lot of times, yeah, like you'll expect to see those too. It's not too far off from kind of what you see in high school. I think it's because you have that first year just to get acquainted with everything, and then you move on to like your specialization or your major in your second year. So, yeah. Oh, you'll also have a coding class. I remember that also too. So, and then yeah, like the project classes too, like the AppSci. For I think the codes are a bit different in Okanagan, but it's like AppSci 100 and 101 here on the Vancouver campus.
Awesome. Thank you both. Moving on. Next question I see over here is, can you explain a little bit about the process after being admitted to year 2 as a CEGEP student? So I'm assuming this student is coming to us from Quebec. Actually, Leanne, do you have any information for students being admitted to year 2 from CEGEP?
Sorry, Franco. I was just responding to another question
Oh,
via
okay,
chat.
no
So
problem.
no, it's okay. I'm happy to answer it. Could you repeat the question for me?
Yes, so we have one of our students here asking a little bit more about the process about for year 2 as a CEGEP student.
Oh, I
Um,
see.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe I can go into the chat and find that question and message.
Okay.
That's quite a specific question, so let me chat
sure.
with that person.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm happy to take
amazing.
that one. Yeah,
Thanks,
thanks.
All right, moving through. I see the next question. There's IELTS is not ready by February 15th. May I extend this deadline or get a conditional offer? My recommendation is to reach out to our admissions team as soon as possible if you're not able to have your test score submitted by February 15th, and then they can work that out for you. So for that student, I'm just going to get you the how to contact admissions, and then I would suggest reaching out to them as soon as possible. Okay. See a question about second year upper year housing. So because I don't work for the housing team, I don't have much more information about how you can maximize your chances of getting a spot in upper year housing. Does anyone on the panel have any experiences with getting housing for upper years? Okay. So
I think I
for
can.
that,
Oh, sorry,
oh,
Franco.
Leanne, go ahead.
I
Yes.
think I can speak to that.
Awesome.
So, As you probably know, if you're coming direct entry into first year and you apply on time, UBC will guarantee your spot into housing. For upper year housing, of course, it's more competitive and it works on a lottery system. It is easier to secure year-round housing than it is just for winter session housing. So as you can imagine, most students want housing in the winter session, which is September to April. But there is a higher chance if you're applying for year-round housing because there are fewer students that want to live on campus year-round. Some students do have year-round housing and then they sublet in the summer to another student. But as Franco said, you can talk about the specifics with housing on whichever campus you're interested in, but typically a lot of upper level students have year-round housing because it's easier to get typically.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Leanne. All right. Next question I see over here is with regards to a study permit, and if that would qualify for tuition. So it's based on their study permit, what's their tuition deposit. For that student, I would also recommend reaching out to admissions as well, just to confirm what that looks like. So I recommend, again, reaching out to our admissions team for more information on that. The next question I see is more for our students over here. So Chanel or Eddie, there's a question about university life and adapting to it. Eddie, you kind of alluded that a little bit about that in your introduction as well. So the question is, was it difficult for you to adapt to the university life at UBC, and what was the most difficult part? And I think I will also add to that. What was the most difficult part, but how did you maybe leverage some of your resources on campus to help ease that transition? Who wants to go first? Eddie,
I'll
go
go
ahead.
first. Yeah. I would say the most difficult part of me adjusting from high school to university was me being accountable. Me accountable. Because when I'm in university, I don't have anybody. My parents are not here. I'm from out of province. So if I have to go to class, it's on me. There's no like in high school, if you miss a class, they call your parents and you have to argue with your parents or whatever. You hear if you miss a class, nobody by your fault. So what I was missing in the first semester, I was missing classes, and they caught up to me because sometimes I miss so many classes that I have to miss classes to study for other classes. So it kept just getting caught up. So that's what my biggest problem, and that reflected on my grades. So in the second semester, I made sure that I showed up to most of the classes as I can, because sometimes even the professor posted notes like on Canvas, sometimes he says things that he doesn't post. You just have to be there because sometimes they give hints for the midterm. Like my engineering professor like to give hints for the midterm for people who show up to class like, oh, this question may be in the midterm. But if you're not there, they're gonna post it on Canvas. So you wouldn't know about it. So that's the hardest thing.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, accountability 100% and like the self-discipline aspect. I think also like one thing that sometimes I still struggle with is kind of like because in your first year classes, like first of all, you just like have a lot of classes, but also your classes are much bigger. Like one thing you will find is that once you get into your upper years, your class sizes will start to decrease a little bit, but it's still sometimes a bit daunting to ask for help. Because I know like all of you guys are, or everybody's kind of like, well, it's kind of a competitive nature. Everyone's really smart and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think one thing all of you guys need, or I would encourage you guys to think, is you guys all made it here, right? So it's like you guys should really take the opportunity to learn not only like from your professors, but from each other, and really don't be afraid to ask for help. Because a lot of times when I look back on my academic journey, that sometimes that would kind of be a bit of a personal roadblock for me, is that I would kind of like step my own kind of like learning and get in the way of my own progress, because sometimes I would just be too scared to ask for help. But I mean that's like what your professors are there for. That's what the TAs are there for. So really, I would say make use of those resources of office hours and everything, because yeah, like at the end of the day, you're in charge of your education, so you really want to make sure that you get the most out of it while you guys are here.
Awesome. Thank you both. All right, just keep on going down the list. Actually, I have another question. I was curious as to if you all think the meal program is worth it on residence. Has anyone had a chance to eat at the dining halls? No, Eddie. How are the Okanagan dining halls?
the Okanagan dining halls, they're okay. I would just say the biggest thing that I miss about the dining hall is the convenience. Because sometimes we're just too busy. Like 6 classes, that is a lot. Sometimes we're just too busy. Like we just want to get in, get out, especially in the final exam season. When there's like so we have 6 exams, like 10 days. You just want to eat quick. I feel like though they're decent, but the best part about it is the convenience of it.
Thanks, Eddie. I had a chance to eat lunch at one of the residence dining halls just last week, actually, and I thought it was pretty good. Like you can have, there was multiple stations. There's like a noodle bar, there's like a sandwich bar, a salad bar. So it really is, you can just pick whatever you need from it. So as Eddie said, I think the meal for the meal plans, like the convenience is great. And you also get these flex dollars that you can also spend across at different eateries around campus as well. So you can use the flex dollars at maybe the local Tim's or the Starbucks. So you can also get a quick bite to eat in that way as well. Oh, and last thing about meal plans is they also do cater to all dietary restrictions as well. So if you do have a dietary restriction, there will be options available for you. All right. So going back to our list, wondering how hard it is to get into computer engineering in the second year at Vancouver campus. That's a great question. I didn't really dive too much into that because you can get, I don't want to get too much into the process at this point because you're going to get more information about that later on. But we do have a program placement website that you can take a look at, and there is a chart which will illustrate the historical entrance averages for each of the disciplines on there. One other thing that so I can share that in the chat as well for all students to see. But other thing that I would also mention to students is be open-minded for the different options that could be available for you, just because things can change, right? Especially in first year, you get exposed to all the different courses, all the different things that you can do with it, and the different career paths. Those things may change, right? And also, a lot of engineering disciplines they cross over a lot as well, right? So, my recommendation is keeping your mind open when it comes time to going through the engineering program placement process, and I think that will help a lot. Actually, while I get that link for that question, Chanel, do you mind opening Q&A and see if there's a question that you would like to get to?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I was actually just typing an answer for
Okay,
them, but I guess I can just say it out loud. This is one of the questions that's a bit, sorry, further down. It's about co-op. It's is there a mandatory co-op term? If so, how many are required for graduation? So pretty much what I was kind of saying here is that overall co-op isn't mandatory for engineering students. It's completely up to you if you guys want to do that. Most students do typically tend to apply for the co-op program just because it's a great way to get like work experience. You get really great like connections also just for like when you do graduate. Sometimes it's like helpful for like finding a job. When you apply and if you're accepted, then there's 16 months which is split into 4 terms that you guys would complete, and if you complete all 16, then you would graduate with a co-op designation, like kind of on your degree. But like an important thing is that like you don't need to complete all 16 technically. It's completely fine if you decide you want to do 8 or 12 and you're kind of like, okay, I think I'm done. I think that, like that's all I kind of want to get from this. The only thing really would just be that you don't graduate with that co-op designation, but in the end, it's kind of the experience with co-op that matters, not necessarily just getting that designation on your degree. So yeah, I hopefully that answered the question. And also, Eddie, if you want to add something to that, yeah, feel free.
Talking about co-op, I'm actually in my way to co-op because I just got in for the January term because the graduating of the co-op designation is not the most important thing for me. I just wanted to get experience because it's much easier to get a job after you have an experience. Because even with the engineering degree, it's mostly just on paper. Because what you do in the classes, you ain't really gonna do in the workshop. So I want that experience. So the people hiring in the future when I graduate know that I have that experience. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you both. I'm just looking at the time. We are right at 6 o'clock. So I'm just gonna I'm just gonna see if there are some quick questions I can get to. Okay, there's a question here. If I have Canadian citizenship, but I did my 4 years of high school in the US, what would my tuition look like? If you're a Canadian citizen, then you will be charged domestic fees. So you'll be, if you have citizenship, then you'll be charged those domestic fees. Another one, which will we get an answer from first? First choice or second choice in our course options? For the most part, UBC admissions will consider your first choice first. There are some occasions where you may hear back from your second choice before your first choice, but for the most part, we will consider whatever you put as your first choice. We will assume that is your preferred program. So short answer is you can hear back from either one, I think. So just keep checking your applicant service center so you stay up to date on your application statuses. There is another question in here about a missed deadline to apply, but would love to do an undergrad in biomed at UBC. Is it still possible for her to apply? So there are some programs that are still open for applications, but this will depend on the campus, the program. So it really depends. I would recommend visiting the application at UBC. And they will list all the different programs that are still accepting applications right now. So for that student, I will put that, I'll put that in, and I'll answer your question there. Okay, so it is now 6:02. I'm going to give an opportunity to our student guests. So Eddie and Chanel, any final pieces of advice for our applicants here before we wrap up today?
Oh, do you want to go first, or I can go first too? Okay. Yeah, I remember how daunting it was, honestly, like going into first year, kind of like not really, knowing what it's going to be like. But I mean, we're kind of examples here, things will work out. So like all these stresses that you guys are having now, while of course like they're still valid. I just want to say, like, you guys, it's a struggle, and it's going to be a journey for you guys. But I mean, don't forget to enjoy it, of course, along the way. You guys are going to learn a lot from your professors, from your peers, from all the design projects that you guys do, co-op if you guys decide to do that. One thing, yeah, is you tend to live kind of by semester. Like that's going to be your timeline as soon as you're a university student. So obviously, like, stay on top of things, make sure you guys are holding yourselves accountable, you guys are practicing self-discipline, and making sure you guys are able to manage your time well, but also where you can, make sure to prioritize your health and yourself, because of course at the end of the day, if you guys aren't healthy and you guys aren't in a really great place, it's going to be hard for you guys to really excel in these areas. So it's all things, it's really important to keep everything in a balance. And yeah, just at the end of the day, don't forget to enjoy it. You guys it's a very invaluable learning experience. And yeah, that's kind of my advice.
My biggest
Awesome,
advice.
thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Eddie.
Okay. My biggest advice, I would say, take risks. Because, like, for example, for me, I'm not a fan of like biggest public speaking. Like, I struggle with it. That's why I'm putting myself into events where like UBC volunteering, like open house, I volunteer to speak for it. Because I know as a future engineer, that is important. I need to be able to get my thoughts across to people that might not understand. I need to be able to do that. That's why I say take risks. That is the most important thing.
Awesome. Anyone else have any final words for our guests before we wrap up today's session? All right, if not, so I'd like to apologize to everyone. There was many questions that are still in the Q&A, but unfortunately, we probably won't be able to get to them all before we wrap up. But there are many opportunities for you to still stay connected with us and get those questions submitted as well. So on the screen there are just a few resources for you. So u.ubc.ca, of course, has more information about all the admissions and programs available across campus. We have our engineering websites for both Okanagan and Vancouver campuses. Of course, you can follow us, our teams. You can see Chanel on engineering stories to talk a little bit more about what it's like to be an engineering student. We also have both Okanagan and Vancouver contact emails for engineering, and we can try and help you out with your question. The last thing on that slide is the UBC admissions blog. I think this is a very underrated resource here on our campus. This will give the UBC admissions team will publish timely articles to talk to you a little bit about kind of where they are in the application cycle. So if you want a little bit more information, I would always check out the admissions blog because you might be able to find your answer right from there. Okay. So I think that's it from us here. So on behalf of the team here, thank you for joining us here for our first session here for our applicant events. I welcome you to join us for future applicant events. Again, you can head over to our engineering events website and sign up for any future events that you'd like to be a part of. Again, thank you everyone for joining us. All the best with your applications, and I hope that we can see you on campus next term. Take care, everyone.